many weeks, we worked on a project which required us to create a sculpture based on Hundertwasser's elements from his artworks. From this sculpture, we were assessed on our understanding of Hundertwasser style in crafting and painting. In addition, we were evaluated on our painting and crafting skills, teamwork, and planning skills. As a result, we worked closely together so that we could cover each other's weaknesses in many areas and always try to divide the workload equally. Also, we normally discuss what we were to do each class and whether we should meet outside of class to work more on the project. At the end of the class, we send any photos or videos of our progress to our computers and took turn making reflection videos for each session.
In the beginning, Sol and I both immediately decided to make a game for a Hundertwasser-inspired project. We already had some guidelines, like what the game had to resemble and what the game had to have, so we kind of had a basic idea. We documented every day in classes, and we always alternated jobs to edit documentations and reflections. Every time we would have a new idea, we would document it in the group planning document. For our lessons, Sol and I had a strong plan on what to do for the 8 lessons we had to make this project at first. But at the end, we changed a lot of things, and the plan didn't meet up with what we were actually doing. We spent the first lesson looking for elements and parts of the school which we can decorate in a creative way. And the rest of the lessons we worked on was the actual project, decorating and cutting out the nets, as well as coming up with new ideas to decorate the shapes. There was this one net, however, that took up a lot of our time. This led us to changing our plan and how we were making our project in general. Because of the delay, we had to work as fast as possible, and we took time after school and a couple lunch breaks to finish the entire game. An issue that Sol and I had was the construction. As explained before, we had complications with making the one net. The cutting was hard since it was on thin card, and it was pretty complicated designing the different nets and buildings to make it creative with different elements combined. If you look through all our documentations, you can see that we spent our time most with the hexagonal nets, which wasted our time a lot. We also had trouble gluing the tabs of the nets. The glue turned out to be very visible and messy, so we had to try again another few times. In addition, the Velcro we added to stick the windows onto the buildings wouldn't actually stick to the object. The issues were, of course, eventually solved. We ended up using cardboard boxes for the buildings instead of cutting them out of card, which saved up a bunch of time. We both worked together to come up with creative designs, so all of them were different. Since we had another method of making the campus, we didn't need to glue tabs or anything like that. Finally, we solved the problem of the Velcro by adding more support, or glue, to attach it. That was basically the only thing we could have done without having to harm the paint that was on the shapes already. We documented our work by filming our progress and reflecting about them at the end. We were provided with questions to answer while making the reflections, so it helped us a lot. We didn't take any pictures, though, since we thought time-lapsing the making of the sculptures was fine already.
The first strength of our sculpture is that most of the components are sturdy since they have been plastered and glue gunned several times. Another strength is that people are allowed to actually play with it, not only look at it. They can sort the components any way they want, and to make this more fun and unique, we even added Velcro to various parts so that combining the components would be easier. The third strength is that the colors used are mostly bright. Bright colors usually show happiness, which is the main goal of our project. In addition, bright colors were commonly used by Hundertwasser. Lastly, the components have a lot of Hundertwasser elements. As a result, just by looking at the sculpture, people can get a brief overview of Hundertwasser styles. If we had another chance to do this project, we would definitely be more thoughtful on choosing the materials. This is because we spent a lot of time on making several components of the sculpture because we chose the wrong materials before we realized that we could have used something else. Another thing that we should strongly think about is the number of components we are going to make, and this is because we think that we probably made too many this time because we had to stay after school more than 5 sessions to finish the project in time. And lastly, we would reconsider the format of the project, and this is because our format, which was a game, took a very long time to finish compared to the other options, and we think that we still might have been able to show what we can do in other options too. Firstly, the structure of our sculpture is something that can make people happy since it can be actually played with, not just watched. Giving happiness was one of his objectives when he was working on his artworks. Secondly, we don't have a lot of perfectly straight lines, and the lines we mostly have are curved. Many of Hundertwasser's artworks don't have anything straight because of his thought that there is nothing straight or perfect in nature. Lastly, the overall feeling of the structure is very bright because of the use of colors that stand out. The fact that we use eye-grabbing colors resembles Hundertwasser's style of using colors to give a sense of positivity and brightness.
Overall, I think our artwork was really good. It wasn't 100% well made since we rushed a bit at the end, but at least we put all our effort and time into it. Personally, the skills I learned and improved on was cutting out nets and shapes out of thin card. Even though we didn't have our game be made by all the nets, I still had a lot of practice making them. I improved my skills in plastering as well. I was able to make the objects in our game really smooth, so it was really easy to paint. I had practiced beforehand, but I got better once I did it a lot more. In total, I had a lot of fun making this project, even though it was really stressful for both Sol and I to make it. I didn't really enjoy the fact that we made a game out of all things, and I personally feel like if I were to do this project again, I would change what my partner and I were making. About my group, I really liked my group. My partner worked really well, and she did a fair share of work.
Overall, I think our artwork has turned out really well than I expected, and that I was able to learn a lot about Hundertwasser and was able to improve in many areas. Personally, I think I learned more on how to set up a really effective plan and clearly deliver my thoughts. I also think I was able to improve my use of time. I think that this project, although it was challenging in many ways, helped me in many ways at the same time. For instance, I learned a lot on what I should do and shouldn't do when giving group projects. To give my opinion on working as a group during this project, I think working with a buddy was a really good choice for me since we were able to get the project done in time and also find solutions for any difficulties together. We were also able to get more ideas for the project and learn more about each other, so there are a lot of benefits.